Hello and welcome to the Oddschecker Greyhound Derby 2020 preview of the quarterfinal stage of the competition. 96 dogs started 2 weeks ago. We're down to the final 24. 3 of the dogs in each of the 4 quarterfinals then go through to the semi-finals next week before 6 dogs battle it out to etch their name into Derby folklore. We all know about the race itself. It's been run at the likes of Wimbledon, White City, Toaster and now Nottingham, and been won by Mick the Miller and Westmead Hawk, among others. To discuss the quarterfinals, 4 of them taking place, I've got 2 expert guests who are going to give you all the winners you need on Saturday evening. First up is Nathan Hunt. Nathan, of course, is one of the rising young trainers in the ranks, and he'll be hopeful of maybe having some more success at Nottingham on Saturday, something that we'll touch upon later on. But Nathan, firstly, for everyone at home, just give us a little update about you and how you kind of got started in the industry.
Yeah, so I first started in the industry when I was about 10, probably 11 or 12 years age. Just started going with my neighbour. That's how I got into it. And then I was in the sport for a while, mainly as a hobby. And then full time, I was kennel. Then I moved from South Wales to Cambridge, become a kennel for Phil Simmons, Romford trainer. And then I worked my way up to assistant trainer, and then when Phil took a step back, then I took the license over, and I'm professional trainer now with a contract at Romford from last February this year. And I'm a weekly columnist with Oddschecker, where we catch up and speak about my runners. And so far we're having a good year. I think we've got some exciting dogs to look forward to anyway.
You can read Nathan's column every Wednesday, which is published on the Oddschecker website and on their social media channels. And joining Nathan this afternoon is Paul Millward. Paul is the Greyhound tipster for Oddschecker. But Paul, what's your background in the sport? How did you become interested in greyhound racing in general?
Basically through gambling. My dad was a very, very small punter, and I got interested in horse racing. One of my friends in the street at the time, his dad went greyhound racing. And next door neighbours went greyhound racing, and we just happened to live a 10-minute walk from Walthamstow Stadium. So I started going there when I was about 9 years old, possibly a little bit younger, doing the 10 pence forecast bets at the tote window, etc., etc. And it developed from there. Eventually became a correspondent for the Racing Post at Walthamstow. Progressed from there into doing websites, did the GB website. Just basically been involved most of my life with the sport.
Remember, you can find all of Paul's tips on the Oddschecker app, and it is the only place to be if you want the best bets from the likes of Paul and also other tipsters in the world of horse racing, football, as well as greyhounds, but also the place where you can get the best odds ahead of Saturday's quarterfinals. Firstly, gents, before we touch on the quarterfinals themselves, what have you made of the competition so far? Obviously, a couple of the ante-post favourites have already been eliminated from the competition, and it looks like Pat Buckley and Graham Holland have interesting contenders still in. But what have you made of it so far? Start with you, Nathan.
Yeah, I think it was a slow build-up with everything that's gone on. But I think, we're over the first couple of rounds now. It's building up nicely. It's a wide open derby. There's no real superstar outright favourite. I think there'd be a lot of dogs still left in the competition. The connections will feel that, they've got a very good chance of winning the derby. Some really good dogs still left in it. And it's building up nicely.
What about yourself, Paul? Have you had any bets so far, anti-post?
2 anti-post ones, but I'm afraid they both went out. Roxhome Christoph rather, who I thought was a fabulous dog. He won at Sheffield, did a track record there, first time in this country. But in the first round, he just could not get to the bend, and he was badly hammered, and he was out. And then the other one was Bocco's Doomy. Ran pretty flat in horrendous conditions in the first round, and second round just didn't show his pace, second to third. So I think there's probably a bit of a problem there, and he's not been entered for the Derby plate either. Apart from that, there's been some very good greyhounds knocked out already. Mm-hmm. But I would agree with Nathan 100% that there's so many in there that can win it now. It's a real mishmash of not guessing, but there's not a lot between many of them at all.
Onto the business end of the preview then. We've got the 4 quarterfinals. First up at 8:36. The second is at 8:52. 9:11 is quarterfinal 3. And the finale quarterfinal 4 is at 9:26. I'll be getting the guys' best bets for all 4 of the quarterfinals. And we'll start off in chronological order with the 8:36 p.m. In trap 1 is Wingman. He's 12-1 in the odds at the moment. Remember, the best odds guaranteed on Oddschecker. It's always worth checking out. Trap 2 is Nerin Jacko, who's 14-1. Antigua Boy at 12-1, Deanridge Rapid at 9-1, Wolf, who I particularly think is interesting, at 11-4. But the market leader is Kulavani Chick, who's the best price available is 5-6. Nathan, let's start with you. What do you think of Noel Hare's dog, Kulavani Chick? Is that the one they've all got to beat?
Yeah, I think she's got a really good draw. She's taken to Nottingham very well. Showed a nice bit of early last time. I think she possibly might have a little bit of a flat spot down the back straight, but then she does kick again up the running. She looks like she might be a 6-bend bitch. I know she's bred for it, but yeah, she's benefited from being in trap 6. She's always going to get the draw, and I think with Wolf inside her, she's got a great chance. Wolf ran from trap 5, I think last year in the Derby played final, cut in from trap 5, so she should get plenty of room there. It'll probably hinder the chances of probably the 4 Deanridge Rapid with the 5 cutting in. She shouldn't get a solo on the run up. I'm quite impressed by Antigua Boy against her last week. He was quite eye catching. I thought he showed real good middle pace. He's a dog who could be going quite under the radar for Mark Wallace. He seems to improve every round and every race he's had for him. He hasn't been in the kennel too long. I think if he was drawn the other way around with Nerin Jacko, I'd probably fancy him to get second there with Kulavani Chick. But Nerin Jacko more than likely to move middle from 2, so I thought 1's got a good draw there as well. Wingman, who's for Ken Humphreys, who trains in Fishguard. He's currently in hospital at the moment, so it'd be a good tonic for him if he could qualify.
Lovely stuff. And Paul, were you in the Chick Express as well or not?
Not at that price. I wouldn't be. I think it's fairly tough. I agree with Nathan. Wolf will be cutting in, but I'd take a chance on Deanridge Rapid. There's some good trials before the competition started. I thought he ran particularly well last time in the last round. I think he's got half a chance of coming out a little bit better. He has done that in trials. And if he can just hold Wolf into the bend, I'd make him a huge runner. And I think 9-1 is kind of worth taking a chance with.
Nice one. Alison Kelly Pilgrim trains at Crayford. Deanridge Rapid 9-1 for Paul, and Nathan seems pretty sweet on Kulavani Chick, who's the 5-6 general market leader. I think Wolf's being slightly overlooked. I thought it was a good run from a bad draw last time. I marked that up, and maybe at the price is 11-4, better off than taking the 5-6 on Kulavani.
He can be without doubt, but it's just one of those races that it's all about the if at the start, whams at the start. It's probably not going to be a clean race. I think Kulavani Chick is the obvious favourite, but again, I'm not sure whether she's actually as fast as Wolf and Deanridge Rapid.
Mm-hmm. Okay, on to the 8:52, the second quarter final. In trap 1, you've got Blue Tick George, who's a 7-2 shot. Trap 2 is Lenson Whelan, who's 22-1, the outsider of the 6. In trap 3 is Final Mad, who's 20-1. Lenson Bocco is available at 11-4 in trap 4. Trap 5 is Southwood Jet, the general market leader at 7-4, who's unbeaten the competition so far and has won by 4 3/4 lengths on both of those starts. And in trap 6 is Troy Firebird. Southwood Jet, probably the best place to start for Richard Rees. What have you made of him so far, Nathan?
Yeah, since coming over, he's really looked top class in this country. His Irish card was, nothing flashy on his Irish card, but he won plenty of races without, flashy times. But he's taken to the racing in this country really well. Obviously, he's 5 out of 5. 2 of those races in the Derby where he's looked, he's won by 4 3/4 both times, drawn 1 and 2. Trap 5 this week could be a hindrance, but I think looking at the race, there's not too much early pace inside him. A pretty level break. I think he's got enough early to clear those dogs inside him. I think sometimes I know the connections would agree that sometimes you're better off drawn the furthest of the railers rather than in the middle of them where you could get sandwiched in between dogs where, he's on the outside. He shouldn't get any trouble from Troy Firebird on his outside coming in anyway. Troy Firebird's a dog I like. I think he paces up well. He was on the heels of Deirdre Sydney in the first round on the first bend. So he'd be pacing up, but I think Southwood Jet should have enough early to clear the dogs inside anyway.
Okay, what about yourself, Paul?
Yeah, I agree. I've watched all Southwood Jet's races, or as many as I could. I can see no reason why he's going to cut in. I think he'll go straight before cutting in at the bend. And I think he's absolutely got the early boot to beat them all into the bend. I thought the best drawn was Blue Tick George in trap 1. Mm-hmm. I think Lenson Whelan to be moving off a little bit. Foreign Ware might be trying to go inside a little bit. I thought Blue Tick George could possibly turn handy and, could well make a race of it.
Graham Holland's had some interesting dogs so far in the competition. What about Lenson Bocco?
Last year's Derby winner, I believe, in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Not quite the same greyhound, but again, you just wouldn't be surprised that anything the Graham Holland has got actually absolutely steps up on it.
For those of you looking at the general outright prices, Southwood Jet is towards the top of the betting for the Greyhound Derby outright at around the 10-1 mark, whilst Lenson Bocco is 14-1 and Blue Tick George is a general 20-1 shot. I agree with you there, Paul. I think Blue Tick George is very well drawn in trap 1, but Southwood Jet has looked electric in his first 2 starts and clearly is the one they all have to beat.
Yeah, definitely. But I think Blue Tick George is sort of pretty nailed on to make the semi-finals.
Do you think that's a good forecast, Southwood Jet to beat Blue Tick George?
That'd be my choice, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think Southwood Jet ran out of 4 in Ireland, and he didn't really dive across to the rail. He edged in slightly, but he never, dramatically cut in. So I think he shouldn't be too bad in 5.
Yeah, he's won from 4 and 3 in Ireland, isn't he? I believe.
Okay. Right, go on to the quarterfinal 3. That's at 9:11 p.m. This is quite an interesting little event. Trap 1 is Ballydor Valor, 2-1. Trap 2 is Swift Lettuce, who's available at 7-1. Trap 3 is Amco Roth, who's available at 12-1. Trap 4 is Swanley Chick, 7-2. Was successful last time out, beating Blue Tick George, who was in the quarterfinal before. Trap 5, you've got the local dog, Churchill Holly, who's 4-1. And finally, trap 6 is Smurfs Machine, 7-1. One thing I wanted to ask yourself, Nathan, really, Churchill Holly's obviously a local dog, 5 wins from 9 starts at the track. If we put that into perspective to, say, horse racing, and you've got a horse who's won over course and distance, how important is it for a dog to have had plenty of track craft round the likes of a Nottingham? How much of an advantage can that give you in a race like this?
Yeah, I think Nottingham's definitely a track you'll improve after, say, 3 or 4 runs there. The bends are pretty flat, so a lot of dogs you see moving off. So she'd definitely benefit from being a local dog. She's had a few races before the Derby under her belt, and to be honest, last week I thought she was outstanding. To just hold Glengar Bale off by a short head. She'd done a 4:88 split, I think, which is the second fastest split of the Derby so far. She looks a really exciting bitch, not just for the Derby but for the future as well. And one of the last 3 bitches in the competition. So they're having great fun with her anyway, and they'd be hoping that she can just smash out again, show her early pace, and get across to the rails. Another one who's the furthest railer drawn out in 5, that it might not be a hindrance if she can just smash out and cut across.
We all know about the power of Ballydor in the horse racing world, but what about Ballydor Valor in Trap 1, Paul, for Graham Holland?
The obvious favourite. I'm not convinced he's the best in the race, but I think he's probably the best drawn. I thought this is a very, very, very hard heat to try and find the winner. I can make a case for quite a lot of them. I was a bit worried that Churchill Holly and Swanee Chick might just come together from the boxes. But as Nathan said, if Churchill Holly absolutely pings again, she'll go round in front, and she's the one they're going to have to catch. As for picking one of them, I really can't. I also made a case for Swift Lettuce. I don't think we've seen the best of that one yet. And it could possibly lead Ballydor Valor, makes that one a big runner. But it's a really tough looking heat to me.
Ballydor Valor. Remember, if you look on the Oddschecker app, as short as 8-1 with Ball Sports for the competition outright, but as big as 14-1 with Unibet. So that's one to be of interest if you fancy backing that dog outright. Amongst the rest of the field, Paul, you've already mentioned Swift Lettuce, Churchill Holly. What about Smurfs Machine for Seamus Carhill in trap 6?
I would think possibly just a touch above what he can achieve. I mean, he'll really need to come away, and I can't see how he's going to beat Churchill Holly or Swanley Chick into the bend. And that, if he doesn't lead, he will not be winning.
Okay. What about you, Nathan? What's your verdict overall? Who would you have first, and maybe one for the forecast?
I think Ballydor Valor, I think he breaks better from the middle as he showed last week. But I think even if he just comes away level, he might get a nice pitch on the rail. He's a real strong running dog, so he'll be finishing with at the end. I can see 2 possibly leading the inside, and I think it's just between 4 and 5 who gets that early battle. If 5 goes round in front, 2 will probably turn Andy, and then 1 will be finishing strongly.
Okay. And Paul, you're going overall for Swift Lettuce or Swan the Chick?
No, I think if forced to go, I'd go Ballydor Valor, and I'd definitely put Swift Lettuce in there.
Okay. We'll come on to quarterfinal 4 in a minute. But obviously, there's a lot of Irish jogs in that quarterfinal, but also in this one. Graham Holland, one of the best Irish trainers around, would you say, Nathan?
Yeah, without doubt. I think his strike rate in the Irish Derby especially has been fantastic the last few years. And, he'd be desperate to add an English Derby to his honours. And, it's a big commitment for them coming over. Obviously, I think his wife is based over here now at Dave Firmage's kennel, so she's doing all the dogs herself. And, I'd say she's equally as good as Graham, and it's shown so far in the Derby. They're in great form. The Irish dogs, to be fair, they've come over. They've only had probably 1 trial, most of them, and they've hit the ground running. They look pretty a class above at the moment, really.
What happens kind of in the week between obviously the quarterfinal, the second round? Where do all the Irish dogs? Where are they staying? Basically, really? Do they stay at the track or?
No, well, I think Graham Holland's dogs are with Dave Firmage's kennel, which is near Nottingham. I know Pat Buckley's staying with June Harvey, which would be near Poole, I would say. Okay. So he's got a fair way to travel. But yeah, they're all staying over here with various English-based trainers. So the dogs will be settled now anyway. They've got to the point they've been over here probably a few weeks now, so they're settled in, and it looks like the dogs have had no problems with the change of scenery anyway, because they've hit the ground running and they look pretty superb. Especially Pat Buckley's. I think he won something like 6 out of the 6, didn't he? Of his dogs
in the first round, yeah.
Yeah.
So they've really hit the ground running and they look in tip-top form. I think they've benefited also just coming out of an Irish Derby, so the dogs are fit. They've been running in competitive races at Shelbourne Park, so they're coming into the competition, in peak condition, and they've hit the ground running.
Okay. We come on to the final quarterfinal. That's at 9:26 p.m. and this could be the one which really shakes up the betting in terms of the outright market, depending on what happens, because Pat Buckley, as Nathan's already alluded to, he's got 3 runners in it, all of which were impressive winners last time out. So they're all worth noting. First off, in trap 1, you've got Dearjet Sydney for Pat Buckley, available as big as 13-8. In trap 2 is Rock Mount Aussie, who's the outsider, but was a surprising winner at 40-1 last week, and is 40-1 again for John Mullins. You've then got Kalara Icon, who's 12-1 in trap 3. Trap 4 is Not the Ball Sid, unbeaten in the competition for Pat Buckley, 9-4. Then you've got trap 5, a dog I know Nathan likes, Glengar Bale, 3-1. And finally, you've got trap 6, which is Distant Village. So it looks like Pat Buckley's got a stranglehold on this race, but out of his 3, who do you feel like is going to be the one to cross the line in front? Nathan first.
I think obviously Pat would have been, he'd have seen the draw. He probably couldn't believe all 3 of them had drawn the same heat, but I think he probably would have been happy where they all have drawn anyway. I think Dearjet's Indy's been cutting in from 3 and 4, so I think 1 would be no problem with him. Nottingham Greyhound Stadium has been smashing out. He's got the fastest split of the competition, the 487 last time. He's in 4. I think if he smashes out 1, be pacing up on the inside, they might get into a battle early on the first couple of bends. and it could set it up for Glen Bale, who's a strong running dog who I fancied pre-competition.
Mm-hmm.
He's a strong runner. He's got more all-round pace. I would say the other two are all about the early pace front runners, whereas he can do it from behind more so.
2 columns ago, Nathan, in his weekly column, tipped up Glen Bale at 28-1 for the Greyhound Derby outright, and he's now a general 8-1 shot. Just to highlight how important this race is for the betting at the moment, the favourite for the Greyhound Derby itself is Nottingham Sid, who's a general 7-1 is the biggest price with Sky Bet, but as short as 11-2 with Ball Sports. Glen Bale 8-1 with Ball Sports, but also as short as 13-2 with Sport Nation. Whilst Dearjet Sydney is as big as 8-1 with Sky Bet, but as short as 6-1 with the likes of Bet365. On to you, Paul. Who do you think is going to come out on top in this superb quarterfinal?
It's going to be totally dominated by the Buckley runners, I'm sure of that. But I thought Dearjet Sydney has got an absolute peach of a draw. I think guaranteed to lead the 2. 3 has not got anywhere near the pace going into the bend. So I thought Sydney would go around bang handy. And I wouldn't mind if Knockabout Sid is in front at that stage, because I think Dearjet Sydney will absolutely beat him down the back straight. Glen Bale, I've got massive respect for, but I think this might just be a little bit too much to actually win it. But I think will certainly qualify.
He showed a cracking attitude last time when getting up to beat Churchill Holly, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a great run. It was a great run by Holly as well. The other 3, I just really don't see how they're going to get into the race.
Okay, so would you be on the Buckley TriCast?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Okay. Just a word on any of the others. I mean, if I forced you, would Distant Village be the pick of the other 3 runners?
Yeah, I think Matt Dartnell's done a good job with him. But I just don't think he's got the pace to go with some of these. And coming from behind any of the 3 Buckley runners is going to be very, very tough. I mean, Clara Icon will probably be staying on, but again, I can't make any solid case there.
Okay, so Dearjet Sydney for you, Paul?
Yes, without a doubt.
And Nathan?
I go for Glen Bale.
I'm going to join you. Gareth Bale might play on Sunday, so Glen Bale might be the Bale connection.
And I'd definitely, I'd be 1 and 2 on that race as well. 1 and 5 on that race.
1 and 5. Okay. Interesting, because not the Bull Sid is the Derby favourite, so it's interesting that both of you have gone against him on the. So you think they've got the outright betting slightly wrong there?
It's opinions. I mean, he's going to be favourite because he does have these flying sectionals, but I just think this race will work out perfect for the other 2.
Okay, let's come on to your best bets then. You've given a selection in all 4 of the quarterfinals, but if I said I want the Paul Millward nap and next best, what would they be?
I'd have to go with Southwood Jet as the nap. I just think if he runs up to what he has done, he's going to go around in front. I'd be looking worriedly over my shoulder at Blue Tick George, but I think Southwood Jet might just have it on the clock at the moment.
Southwood Jet available at 7-4 with Bet365 for anyone betting on the app. Sorry, Paul, and your next best?
Yeah, I think that's a good price as well, 7-4. And I'd tempted to go Deanbridge Rapid, but being more realistic, I'll go Dearjet Sydney.
Dearjet Sydney, who is in the final quarterfinal and is available at 13-8 with William Hill and is short as 11-8 with Betfred. So make sure to shop around on the Oddschecker app. Nathan, what about yourself? What's your nap of the night and then your next best?
I think Gula Valley Chick's the best draw in the quarterfinals out in 6. I can see a little bit of crowded on the inside of her, so I'm finding it difficult to go without her. But then a dog, I think, who might run a big race or the big prices in the same race, Antigua Boy. He's in 3. Obviously, I said earlier about 2 being inside him isn't ideal, but I think he's in 3, which is notoriously a ping box at Nottingham. So if he can get a good break, as I said, he was eye-catching in the last round, and I think he might be a type to go under the radar and improve.
Okay, Koulibaly Chick 5-6 with Betfred, and Antigua Boy, if you're looking for an each-way play, is a 12-1 shot with both Betfred and Bet365. Away from the 4 quarterfinals of the Greyhound Derby at Nottingham on Saturday is the Racing Post Greyhound TV Derby Plate. This competition is open for dogs who were eliminated in either the first or second round of the Greyhound Derby itself. And one man who's got a runner in the 821 is Nathan Hunt, who's got Balyard Ricky, a dog I know he thinks a lot of. He was very unlucky when he met all sorts of trouble on a wet, sodden night at Nottingham on October the 3rd. But he's since trialled well back at the track, Nathan. What do you make of his chances from trap 4 on Saturday.
Yeah, I trialled him Monday evening before racing, and he's out of trap 4 then as well. It was a 2-dog trial with one of Barry Draper's, who actually won the heat of the 3 Steps to Victory not so long ago. And he trapped out pretty well, paced up to the corner, and he won by 3.5 lengths in 29.66, which is a really respectable time. So we're just hoping for a good run from him. Obviously, we were done in like 2 strides in the Derby. The 5 come in and then the 3 moved off. So, our chances were gone straight away. So hopefully the dog deserves a little bit of luck, because he's had no luck so far. I like his draw. Looks like Hope's Bullet in 3 should edge for the rails. He's got a Swanley Flight in 5 and Wine Tavern Curly in 6, who was a dog I used to train. Is now with Gary Ferguson in Shawfield, but I think on a level break he should pace up and lead. That's what we're hoping anyway.
Okay, so you're confident. Hopefully, how does he have to finish in the first 2 or 3 to qualify for next week?
First 3, yeah.
So hopefully he'd get out. Would you? You'd think he'd get out of that heat?
Well, yeah, I think on a level break, because he's a dog. He's not a ping breaker, but he's got lovely pace to the corner and a long run to the bend like Nottingham suits him. So yeah, hopefully he can show his true colours anyway.
Okay, and Paul, there's 3 other heats of the Derby plate, and they include some famous names, including Doolan Duke for Pat Buckley, who many thought was going to be one of the market leaders for the Greyhound Derby himself, but he finds himself in the plate. Is there anything that stands out for you on the rest of the card?
I've not really had an amazing amount of time to go through the plate heats, but I think there's going to be some obvious favourites. Doolan Duke would probably be one of them, in the same race as Derby's Flyer, who had quite a big name. Just scanning through the races, I do think that Nathan's Balliard Ricky is a huge runner. He's definitely got the early pace to beat these into the bend. I'd be a little bit worried about Wine Tavern Curly. He can really smash out and go into the bend, but I think Balliard Ricky would. I don't know. He's not going to be much of a price, I wouldn't have thought, but he's definitely got the early pace to lead.
Balliard Ricky, confident selection from both of the guys. And Nathan, quickly before we go,
until Paul praised him up.
What's that?
We might have had a good price until Paul praised him up.
Yeah, that's it. Paul's ruined the price for everyone.
I think, to be fair, I think he's about 14-1 to win the plate outright. Andy Post anyway. He's not the favourite. There's quite a few up there. I think Bauer Luke. I think he's about 7-1 joint favourite.
Yeah, it's a tough enough little event. I think it's not gonna. It's going to take some beating. Going to take some winning rather. But I think Nathan will be off to a winning start there. I really do.
Okay, confident from both of the guys. And Nathan, before we go, you've got a runner on Wednesday in another final. That's at Harlow in the Scurry Cup. That's I've Got Gears, who won the 9-1 last week. So another big winner for the Oddschecker column. But what do you make of the chances in the final of that event at Harlow? Yeah,
she ran a cracking race last week. Trapped pretty well, but paced up really well into the bend and run a real good first and second bend. It's a sharp bend at Harlow. It's hard bend to run, but she benefited for a couple of runs and run the track really well. And she was 9-1. I think Rab had the show price favourites in the race, but she beat them fair and square. She's got drawn trap 2 in the final. She got a railer inside her who she beat last week. She should lead the 1. It's whether she can handle the 2 box. She's a middle seed normally. Hopefully she stays pretty straight. She does come in and cut the bend from 4 she was last week. So we're hoping she's pretty straight from 2 and she cuts in. But she's a bit in form, and we're hopeful of a big run from her anyway.
All the best with her, and all the best with Balliard Ricky as well on Saturday. Paul, thanks again for your time. Nathan as well. That's your extensive preview of the Greyhound Derby quarterfinals. Hopefully, we've given you a few winners along the way. Remember to check out the Oddschecker website, the Oddschecker app. It's the place to be for all the best tips from Paul and others, along with getting the best odds. And remember, you can listen to this on SoundCloud, YouTube, and all your other devices.